The subject of this video is why do people seem to feel that children are the one group in society for whom a lack of information does them good? This is Art for Atheism, and I'm Scott Wilson. I'm also the Vice President of the Kingston School of Art, helping to run a community gallery called the Window Art Gallery that is operated by the Kingston School of Art. The idea of censorship and the phrase, "what about the children?" as a means of censoring what we display, I find truly ingenuous. I don't think it gives enough respect and due to children's intellect and the amount that children are able to handle. I also think that it is very like the phrase, but God says, or God's opinion, however it's expressed, often, in the Bible, in that it is shifting the blame, well, in one case, in the case of God, to an absolute authority, and an absolute authority's sacred text that can say pretty much anything you want it to say. And in the case of what about the children, it's not me, it is the children, and these are delicate minds that we cannot expose to a broad range of ideas. It might frighten the children. Well, the children are going to be frightened, and they're going to have to learn how to deal with it at some point. You really should be able to explain all of life and the ugly things. Now, I understand full well that you wouldn't want a steady diet of it, that you might not show the most extreme pictures of Auschwitz to children right off the bat. But if one or two of them come up in the course of life, you should be able to explain what it is. If only to prepare them for, well, I just saw a video that was the beheading of someone by Muslim religious authorities. It was horrifying to me, and I'm a pushing 60-year-old man. Now, at the Window Art Gallery, it is mostly nudes and any sort of sexual or erotica work that we run into the most problem with. We don't have a lot of violence-based material that's shown at the gallery. And I have a real problem with children not finding out about sex, and an art gallery show is a good way of bringing up the subject. It is a subject that is part of life. It's a subject that is often explored by artists. And it is something that I really do think that children should be exposed to. I would even expose children to Mapplethorpe. But if it came up, you should explain it as what it is. And they will do with that information what they will. Because I remember when I was a kid, homosexuality just wasn't heard of. The few oblique references that mainstream society was shooting up about homosexuality were almost universally negative, but also subtextual. I watched James Bond movies without realizing, as a kid, without realizing that characters were homosexual. I could have used a lot more honest, frank, no-holds-barred information. It would have helped me a lot. So, conclusions. I still don't know why people seem to think that kids are the only group in society that do better with a lack of information. As soon as a kid started to ask things like, are fairies real? Tell them no, they're not. These are figments of the imagination. I think they serve a purpose. I think they often have a place in the history of humanity. But as soon as a child starts to ask you questions, is Santa real? That's the last year for Santa Claus. I really do think you should be doing your best to tell your children the truth about all of life, and all, and give everything an honest too. But of course, Christians in that sort of crowd aren't going to think that. They're going to think that limiting ideas is the way to raise a good child, by whatever their standards of good are. And I'd love to say more power to them, but the harm it does to gay children is just so great. I should put something in here about free speech. That freedom of speech is a significant enough reason. I think the fears are pretty much unnecessary. And I actually think that you're doing the children harm by keeping material from them. And so this is Scott Wilson for Art for Atheism. Also pumping Prints for the Godless, which is a website that sells my work. Signing off.